Good morning, students. Welcome to the day one training of TalentNext. So, I have already logged into the PBL app module, and this is the home page. And as part of the schedule which I have shown you yesterday, I hope all of you have gone through the introduction video link which I have shared in your WhatsApp group yesterday. In that, I have already said how to do that, all that things. And if you would like to change your password, this is where you need to go. You have to go to My Profile, and in the My Profile you can see for a change password. There you can even upload your picture if you would like to have your profile picture. And as part of the first 2 days, or it might be up to 3 days, we will be going ahead with Java fundamentals. So I have already opened these 4 topics which are there under Java fundamentals. As I already mentioned, the PBL app is being used by 30,000 users across the country. That is the reason here you can see since I have opened it 5 minutes before itself. Since it is being idle, the session got expired. So let me try to relog in. Yeah, here it is. So if you are keeping this page idle for 5 minutes, automatically it gets logged out. So here you can go to My Profile, as I said. It's taking time, as I mentioned, since more number of users. Yeah, here, this is the place where you can change your profile photo, and here you can click the change password, and you can give the default password, as I mentioned, talentnext at the rate 123. That one you can give as the old password, and give your new password. And here I mentioned we are going to use the metal, and this is the manual regarding the metal tool. And in the introduction video also I have shown you how we will be getting that metal used. So you can click this link, and then the demo, this is how the screens will appear as I have shown you. And you can choose the language platform, and then after choosing the language platform you will be writing your code. And once you click on this compile and test, then you will be getting the results. If any errors are there, it will show. If not, if any of the test cases are not being passed, it will show you. And then if the test cases are passed, then it will check for the private test cases. That is the last test tab here. So there, once it is passed, you can check it, and then you can click on finish. And once you click on the finish test, you will be getting the report generated. This I have already shown you by clicking the link, and I said you that 4 things which you are supposed to give there. One is the email ID, the second one is the name, and next is the employee code. You give any number, no problem. And lastly you have to give the location from where you are doing this. So these are the 4 mandatory fields you need to fill in the registration of the test whatever you are going to take in the metal. And make sure that for every problem you are going to give a unique mail id. Whatever the mail id you have used for a particular problem, the same problem, if you would like to retake the test, you have to use a different mail id. And the mail id can be anything. It need not be a really existing mail id. It can be of anything. Only thing it checks for is the at the rate and the domain, like gmail.com or yahoo.com, like that. Only that thing it checks. So it has to be unique for everything. And then the logic building, it's only the manual here. Whatever the logic building you can see, it's only the manual how you have to build the logics for all that. uh, Again the session got architecture. First one, here you can see first the evolution of Java. I hope both EC as well as CSE students know about the basic foundations, because I guess EC students have completed their Java in this semester itself, and CSE students have completed in the second year itself. Founders of Java, James Gosling, Patrick Norton, and Mike Sheridan, and they have invented in the very first 1991 and named it as Oak, and later it was renamed as Java in 1995. This is the basic history of Java, and the main intention was to implement something which is platform independent. Their main intention was only for developing a language which could be platform independent. Later on, due to the fast moving generation, the things have been very quicker that Java have grown this prominent. And this is the typical Java architecture. Here you can see the 5 steps. So let me maximize this. So here you can typically see this 5 steps. First, you will be creating a, and you will name it with the .java extension. And step 2 is compiling that source file, which is your .java file. And once you compile it, and if there are no errors, then the compiler will generate a .class file, which we call it as the bytecode. And then this bytecode or the class file will be loaded by the class loader, and the class loader will be attaching any other class libraries. I mean, whatever the import statements that you have written on the top. So what actually is all about. So altogether it will be comprising of 5 steps. First, creating the .java file. Next, compiling, and if no errors, then the .class file gets generated, which we call it as the bytecode. And then the class loader will be loading the class. Along with that, all the libraries will get attached. I mean, what are the import statements being written by you. And then the bytecode verifier, it checks, and it is the one which assures security. And then it will be given to JVM, where it gets processed line by line with the Java interpreter. And then the just-in-time compiler processes the things in very quicker fashion, because as we know that interpreter executes slower than compared to compiler. That is the reason just-in-time compiler is used to make things faster. And then the underlying will be interacting with the underlying machine operating system and the hardware. And one simple question to you: is this JVM platform dependent or independent? So the answer is, this JVM is platform dependent. It's only the bytecode which is being generated by the Java compiler is platform independent, but the JVM is platform dependent. So only thing is, JVM will be created for multiple platforms, whereas the bytecode will be processed by this JVM irrespective of the underlying platform. So the bytecode is the only one which is platform independent, whereas the JVM is platform dependent. This thing you need to understand. And as I mentioned, these are the 5 steps. Step 1, creating a Java source code with a .java extension and compiling using Java compiler, which will generate the .class file. And step 3, class loader will read the class files along with the library added. And then the bytecode verifier validates the bytecode. And then the JVM reads this bytecodes and translates it for machine for execution. And these are the 5 phases of Java programs. And this is the very first Java program. I hope all of you might be understanding by seeing that the very first program with respect to any language that we'll be doing is the hello world program. So it's a sample program that you can execute it and test it on yourself. So class hello world app, and there you can see the public static void main string args, and then the system.out.println hello world, and then I think, yeah, here. So since you all have your own credentials, you can just go through this theory part. Let me directly go to the execution and show you some basic things that are required for your assessment as well. That will be helpful for you, and try to answer these questions within yourself for your understanding itself. And as I mentioned, these are not going to be graded. It's only for self analysis purpose. Whatever the material you are going through, after that, it's only for your self analysis purpose, how far you understood this particular document. So that's what this is the first thing you need to understand with regard to Java architecture. Now we are covering the Java fundamentals. I hope you remember the schedule which I have shown you. For your understanding, once again, I'll just open that. So this is the schedule which I have introduction video. I have shown this schedule. So first we are trying to complete this Java fundamentals. As I mentioned, for today and most probably tomorrow, we will try to understand these Java fundamentals basically. And next we will get into the OOPS concepts actually. And here, after completing Java architecture, we need to understand the Java language basics. So under Java language basics, you need to understand the basic terms like path, class path, command line arguments, keywords, basic data types, and what are the different types of operators. These are the things that you need to understand as part of this language basics. So whether it is Java or any other, first thing you need to understand are these basic types. So coming to the path and class path, uh, the thing is like even every language, when you are installing the compiler or the interpreter, so what happens is the actual command interpreters and the commands get installed in one particular location, but we would like to perform our programs from our own interested location. In that case, the actual command editors, I mean the command interpreters, are installed in one drive, whereas you are running your programs from a different location. So for that reason, what we need to do is location. So after setting the path programs from anywhere in the system, I repeat, once you set the path, then you are free to run your programs from anywhere in the system. That is why we will be setting the path. And another thing with Java you have is the class path. So the advantage with class path is you can separate your source files and the class files. That means rather than having my class files being generated in the same folder where my source files exist, I can have my class files stored in a different location. That's what the advantage. That means whatever the bytecode which I am saying is secure. Guys, am I audible? Respond in our WhatsApp group, please, because I'm having a internet connection a little bit poor. As my internet connection is fluctuating, I just want to hear from you. Am I audible? Please respond in our WhatsApp group. Okay. So yeah, next it's the command line arguments. So the purpose of command line arguments is, rather than passing the input after the program is executed, we would like to pass the arguments or the input at the time of execution itself. I hope you are able to understand the statement. So rather than giving the input after the program is being executed, I would like to pass the input at the time of execution. That means when I'm going to give the command for the program to get executed, at the same time I'm going to pass the input in form of command line arguments. So that's what the purpose of the command line arguments. And since I hope all of you have completed this Java course in some of the other semesters. So I hope you remember the syntax, that is public static void main string args, whatever the command you will be, whatever the method you will be writing. So this is what. So here in this public static void main, you all know that main is the starting point of execution. So your .java file might contain n number of classes, and again in turn each and every class might contain n number of methods, but there will be one such class which will be containing this public static void main string args with this signature, and this will be the starting point of execution, and all the other classes will be called from this main, as main is the starting point of execution. So here whatever the argument that you are able to see within the main, that is string args, it is meant for command line arguments. It is meant for command line arguments. So here this in tomorrow's class I will be showing all these things with execution, don't worry. So here this args is a string type. This args is of string type. So whatever the argument that we are going to pass through command line, it will be treated as string type. It will be treated as string type. So even though you are providing some integer or real values, still they will be considered as string type. Later, for your operations purpose, you need to convert them. You need to convert them to the required type by using the appropriate wrapper class methods. We will come across all of them slowly, don't worry. So here you can see the examples as well. In this itself, you can see the examples as well, how we are doing here. So for compiling, you will be doing Java C space file name. When I say file name with .java extension, and when you say Java space class name, this is for execution. And here Java is the interpreter, whereas the simple, what you can see here, this is the class name. This is the class name, and followed by space, you can pass the arguments, and the very first argument what you are going to give is considered as args of 0, because we all know that array initialization will be from 0 itself. I mean the indexing starts from 0. So if you have a length of n, means you have to understand that the index is from 0 to n minus 1. And here this is what the example. So if you are going to compile it like this, observe my selection. So if you are going to execute this program in this fashion, Java space simple space Wipro. So here Java is the interpreter and simple is the class name, and Wipro is the input which we are providing, then the output is going to be Wipro like this. And similarly here, this is another example. Here you can see integer dot parseInt. So integer is the wrapper class for int type, and parseInt is the method which is used to convert string type to int type, and args of 0, that means the very first argument that I am going to pass in the command line, it is considered as args of 0 since it is of string type, and I want that string type to be converted to int type. So we are doing that and storing it in a integer variable I1. Similarly, integer dot parseInt of args of 1, that means whatever the second argument that I am going to pass in command line, that is again of string type, which is being converted to integer and stored in I2, and then you are just adding those two numbers and displaying it. And this is how you will find the length of a array, args dot length. So length is the constant variable which will return the length of a array. And I want all of you to practice these programs using Eclipse platform. So you can download Eclipse from the official site itself. So as soon as you give this Eclipse download, you can see here, this is the official website, and here you can see this download 64-bit, and you can just click this, and then you can just click this download, and automatically it gets downloaded. So this is how you can just download it and follow the steps for installation. It's very simple. And once you download the Eclipse, you can just create this workbench. I'll just show you. This is my Eclipse, and here you can give any drive or location, and you can just give your own folder name. Even though the folder doesn't exist, no problem, it will just create it for you. Package Explorer, so you can just click this Package Explorer. Here it's already there. So here you can see the Package Explorer. Unnecessary windows, you can just close them. And these things happen only for the first time. Next time onwards, you don't require to do all these changes. And you have to go with this file, new, and then you will go for Java project, and then give some name. So I'm just giving some talent next, and then here you can see the default location. It is already taking this e talent next. It's up to you. If you are comfortable, okay. Otherwise, you have to go to browse, and then you can just again go here, and then you can create a new folder, and then there you can give some and then select that folder, so that your project will be saved into this e-talent folder. That's what you just need to understand. Within the e-talent folder, your project will be saved, and then you can just click on finish. Now here you can see the talent next package is being created, and if you just click on this sign, it gets expanded. And here you can see src folder. This is the place where we are going to create our class files. So you can just do right click, new, and then you can see the class, and just click on the class. Then it will ask you for the class name. So you just give, let's give me first. Since it's my very first class, let us give it as first. And then you can see, one thing you need to remember is, since we have done it using create a class, you are not supposed to give the extension here. Keep that in mind. You are not supposed to give that extension .java here, because I have done create class. Since I have done create class, again I'm not supposed to give .java extension. So this is how you will do. And then here you can select these modifiers. All these things you can try later. So first, and if I want main method also to be generated while this class is being created, I can click this checkbox. Observe this. I can click this checkbox, public static void main, and then click on finish. Yeah. Now you, here you can see my class is being created with main method as well. Now, since it's my very first class, let us first try to just print hello world. So the shortcut key is sys out control space. So if you just type SYSOUT without any spaces, SYSOUT sys out, and if you click on control space, automatically that comes, and there you can see the cursor being blinked inside. So I'm just giving hello world. So when I type this hello world, you can see no errors are there. Suppose if I remove this double quotes here, then you can see a red mark is coming here. And when you move your mouse cursor over that red cross mark, you can see what it is saying: string literal is not properly closed by a double quote. String literal is not properly closed by a double quote. So like that you can just understand it. Like that you can just understand it. And then so I hope you are able to see this now. So once you are done, you can just click on save by just using Control S, and do right click, and there you can see, run as, and after you click run as, you can see the Java application. You can just click the Java application, and there you can see the output being displayed. It's very simple to use this Eclipse IDE, and Wipro, Virtusa, and many other companies are using this Eclipse IDE only. So when you will be performing the projects also, you have to use this Eclipse workbench only. You have to use this Eclipse workbench only. And by using these IDEs, the advantage is you have so many flexibilities of filling the code. I'm just showing you a small sample. Don't worry about what it is. Suppose if I'm having here int x comma y, and string a comma b, don't worry about what they are. Suppose if I'm just having some variables like this, and you can just see here. So if I go to right click, go to source, and there you can see generate getters and setters. If I just click this, sorry, they have to be instance variables. They should be declared as instance variables. So source, generate getters and setters. So here you can see, so whatever the variables I'm having, whatever the instance variables I'm having. So I can just select which of the variables I want, and then I can just click on generate. Automatically you can see the methods get generated. So these are all the, this is a small basic advantage that I have shown you. So like this, you have the flexibility of generating automatically code, and the code fillings also will be simplified by you knowing some basic shortcuts. So that's the reason industry uses only these workbenches, and Eclipse is the prominently used IDE by majority of the companies. And as I mentioned in yesterday's introduction video also, so what you have to do is, the third part, you will be creating a project, and the project which you have to create is using this Eclipse IDE only. So this is how you will be creating a program in this Eclipse IDE. And suppose you create another class, simple, again go to this package, and whenever again you open, this package will automatically be shown here. I mean, for your understanding, I'm just closing my IDE. I'm just closing my IDE. For your understanding, I'm just closing, and once again I'm opening. Since EC people are also there, I'm just showing once again. So it's only for the first time you need to do these settings, and from next time onwards, whenever you launch, automatically your previous thing was being remembered by this IDE. So again, it will be showing you the same thing. See, you can see here. So even though I have closed my IDE, and even after later time, again whenever I'm opening, automatically in the last time when I'm closing this IDE, at what stage I have closed it, it will be coming there only. So this is the advantage. And if I want to create now new class, so you, again you can expand this, again expand this src, again expand this package, and click on this default package class, and let me give this file name as second, and then again let me give this public static void main. Let me show you without that. Let me show you without selecting this public static void main. So finish. Now you can see second dot java is being created, and here you can see public class second. Now suppose if I want to add main here, so simple technique is type main, again control space, there you can see main method. Just double click it, automatically it gets generated. The basic shortcuts you just try to remember is, one is for automatically getting the main method, main control space, and for system.out.println sys out control space. So these are the basic things which you require, and if you hope you can remember many others, you can just try on your own. So this is my second program. This is my second program. That's it. Just do right click, as I mentioned, run as Java application. So you get your output displayed in the console. This is what the advantage with this. This is what the advantage with this. So as I have shown in the first program, how you can even generate automatically the setters and getters. So the setter methods will be useful for setting the values for the variables. Getter methods will be useful for returning the values. So that's what the Eclipse IDE. So as I said, you can just type in Google Eclipse download, and you can redirect to the official website eclipse.org, and there you can choose your platform and download the 64-bit or 32-bit according to your uh, machine, and then you can just install it. And here these are some good programming practices you need to remember. So these are the good programming practices you need to remember. I hope majority of you, it's my duty to once again reiterate. I'm just telling. So the naming conventions. So class name should be nouns. All the class names should be nouns, and be starting with the first alphabet as capital letter, and each and every internal word should be capitalized. The first character, each and every first letter of internal word should be capitalized, and no spaces are permitted in between the words. No spaces are permitted in between the words. And there you can see the example: class student, class test student. So in the test student you can see T and S are made capital, and no space, and no space. So this is how you will be using names for your class. Similarly for variable names, so the variables are also similar, the same thing. Only difference is the first letter of the first word will be small letter. The first letter of the first word will be small letter, and the subsequent words first alphabet will be capital letter. Subsequent words of the first alphabet will be capital letter, and strictly no space. No space between this variable name as well. Underscore is allowed. Underscore is allowed. So this is what the naming conventions you should go for this variable names. And score can be the starting character, but it's only for inbuilt kind of things. So we are not supposed to start with underscore. We are not supposed to start with underscore. And variable names should be meaningful. The company's standards, what they recommend is, suppose if you are going to create some bank you have to go for variable names which are suitable to that particular a project that you are developing. Like the variable name should be like account number. I mean, account number is the variable name with ACCOUNT, all small letters, and in the number n should be capital. I repeat. So the variable names, whatever you are going to give, they should be meaningful and appropriate to the project, whatever you are developing. They should not be like simple like A, B, C, X, Y, Z. We are used to this kind of declarations, but you should avoid it. Suppose if you are doing a small sum of two numbers, then your variable name should be something like operand 1, operand 2, or simply number 1, number 2, or input 1, input 2, something like using like int a comma b comma c, where you will write c equal to a plus b. Instead of that, try to use input 1, input 2, result. So then you can give the variable result equal to input 1 plus input 2. So that is how you have to give your variable names meaningful. And here you can see the examples as well. Int y comma my width. So my width is one variable name where there is no space between my and width, and there you can see the first word m is capital small letter in my, and w is capital in width. And for method names, so method name should follow the same variable name rules. Method names also should follow the same rules what we have seen with variable names. That means the first words first character will be small letter, and the subsequent words first character will be capital letter. And these method names should be verbs. They should be verbs. Void run, void get color, something like this. Comments, so we have three types of comments: single line comments, block comments, and the documentation comments. But documentation comments we don't generally use it. We are mostly going to use only the single line comments and the block comments. So the block comments will be represented in this fashion. Here you can see. So forward slash asterisk, and then you can give any number of lines which is going to be considered as comment until you terminate it with asterisk and forward slash. So this forward slash and asterisk is the begin of the block comment, and the asterisk followed by the forward slash is the end of the comment. In between this, whatever you are going to write, it's considered to be comment, which will not be by the compiler. So compiler is going to ignore this comment. It's not going to parse it. And then the single line comment, two forward slashes. It's applicable only for that particular line. And another thing is, so each and every variable to be declared in a new line. As you can see here, one declaration per line is recommended. So whatever these good practices you are seeing, it's as per the industry standards. Understand it. So there's nothing wrong if you are declaring like this. Here, there's nothing wrong if you are declaring in one single line as also. But only thing is, according to good programming practice, declare one variable per line. So one declaration per line is recommended. So this is what the industry standards. And then the Java API. So it's the framework which is collection of all the predefined packages, classes, and interfaces, and all the variables and other things. So this API is being included with the JDK itself, and JDK stands for Java Development Kit, and this JDK will get automatically installed in your machine with the installation of Java software. With the installation of Java software. And one more thing I forgot to mention. Before installing Eclipse, you need to have Java installed on your machine. I repeat, before installing Eclipse, you need to have Java installed on your machine. Without Java being installed, you cannot use Eclipse. You cannot install Eclipse also. So install JDK 1.8 or higher versions. Install JDK 1.8 or higher versions. If you go to the internet and if you Java download, automatically you will be getting the Oracle homepage where you can download the latest version of Java itself. No worries. But JDK 8 or any other higher versions is recommended for getting Eclipse installed. And these Java buzzwords, these are the Java buzzwords. So Java is known to be simple. Java is known to be object oriented. Java is known to be distributed. Java is known to be architecture neutral, and the reasons are also mentioned. So why Java is simple is because it is containing the syntax of English typed nature, and it's very easy to write and run as well. For that reason, it is considered to be simple. And another reason why it is treated to be simple is because many of the components are inbuilt. Many of the components are inbuilt. Since you don't require to develop everything from the scratch, you can directly make use of the inbuilt components. We say, and next it is object oriented because it supports these object oriented features, which is encapsulation, inheritance, abstraction, and polymorphism. So that's the reason we say Java is object oriented. And next we say Java is because it contains various libraries for performing RMI, that is remote method invocation, and it contains various libraries for performing the network programming. And we also say Java is architecture neutral because of its bytecode, because of the bytecode. And next we say Java is secure, again the same, because of the bytecode verifier. Earlier we have seen in the Java architecture as well, because of the bytecode verifier we say Java is secure. And next it is portable. That means you can easily transport the class file from one machine to other machine. You don't even require to move the source file. You don't even require to move the source file. You can simply transfer the class file itself. And the other machine should be having JVM. The other machine should be having JVM in order to execute this class file which you are moving there. So how you get JVM? By simply installing Java on your machine, you get JVM installed on your machine. So JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. So that's the reason we say Java is portable. And next it is multi-threaded. So this multi-threading improves the CPU utilization, and the throughput gets increased. And the throughput gets increased. So we will be seeing how to create this multi-threaded applications as well. So we have 50 keywords. Here you can see the 50 keywords. So you cannot use these 50 keywords as part of your identifier names. That means for your method names, or for your variable names, or for your class names, you are not supposed to use these reserved keywords. So these are the 50 Java keywords. Out of these 50 Java keywords, this const and go to are removed. In the latest versions, this const and go to are removed. So you are not supposed to use them in your programming. And so you will be getting this error. So you can just try them in your machine and explore them. You can just try and explore them. So you will be getting it as error because you are using the reserved keywords. And these are the primitive data types. These are the 8 primitive data types. So byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. These are the 8 primitive data types, and their sizes respectively, which you can see beside them. And the range of values also you can see. Minus 128 to 127 is the values that a byte can store. Similarly, a short variable can store minus 32768 to plus 32767. So the default values also you can see. So unlike with your C or C++, you don't have the concept of garbage values in Java. So if you are declaring a variable as a without being initialized also, this is what the default values it will be containing, but there won't be any garbage value concept. So you will be the values will be initialized to their default value. So if you are declaring a byte b without assigning any value, so the default value will be 0. But in case of C or C++, if you declare a variable like that and if you try to print it, you will be getting a garbage value being displayed. But whereas in Java, there's no concept of garbage value, so it is going to display you the default values. So for all integer types, that means byte, short, int, long, 0 is the default value. For all integer types, that is for byte, short, int, long, 0 is the default value. Whereas for the real types, that is for float and double, 0 0.0 is the 0.0 is the default value. Whereas for char slash u, this here you can see backslash u 4 zeros, which is the uh, value in mentioning it as 0, which is the value mentioning it as 0, not the numerical 0, not the numerical 0. Understand the difference. And for boolean, the default value is false. And for boolean, it can be either true or false only. As you can see there, all small letters only. Here 0 or 1 is not considered to be false and true. Directly you should initialize them as true and false in small letters only. And supports only ASCII code, whereas in Java you can see it is of 2 bytes, since it supports Unicode, not just ASCII code. It supports Unicode, which is the universal codes. So that's the reason character in Java consumes 2 bytes. And these things you must be able to explore. Just for your understanding, I'm just saying here, byte b equal to 128. What does it mean? In the previous slide itself, we have seen here byte ranges between minus 128 to 127. B equal to 128, and when you are trying to print this b value, can you get 128 being displayed? No. The answer is no, because the range of byte is from minus 128 to plus 128. So you cannot get plus 128 being displayed. Instead of that, it again goes in this other side. That means minus 28 128 will be displayed. Observe here, it will be displaying this minus 128. Why? Because when you are giving plus 128, since the range is being exceeded, again it starts from the first. Again it starts from the first, because the range is from minus 128 to plus 127. So when you are giving plus 128, that means it's exceeding the maximum range. So again it starts from the first, so you will get minus 128. Suppose if I give byte b equal to 129, understand it, suppose if I am giving byte b equal to 129, so it is exceeding the range again, so plus 127. Next, for plus 128 it is minus 128. So for plus 129 it will be minus 127. It will be minus 127. If it is 130, so you have to understand like that. So for plus 128 it will come to the starting, that is minus 128. For plus 129, next one, that is minus 127. So for plus 130 it will give minus 126. So you can try them, you can try and explore them. So that's what the output you will be getting. You can just try them. You can't copy it and paste it, it's strictly restricted. You cannot copy it. So you have to see it, type it, and explore it. So as I said, for this you will be getting the answer minus 128 by b equal to 128. Since it's exceeding the range, it again comes to the starting value, that is minus 128. And another question, suppose if I am giving here minus 129, if I am giving minus 129, since it is again exceeding the range, it will come to the opposite end. So you will be getting 127. You will be getting 127. So you can just try and explore all that. You can just try and explore all that. And next, what will be the result if you try to compile and execute this following? So here, float f equal to 1.2. So this statement will be raising an error, compile time error, because by default in Java all the real values are double. By default all the real values in Java are double. So if you directly give float f equal to 1.2, there will be a compilation error, because 1.2 is treated to be a double variable, sorry, a double value, but you are trying to accommodate into a float variable. You are trying to accommodate into a float variable. So what you are supposed to do there, you are supposed to typecast it. You are supposed to typecast it, or you are supposed to append f, small f. You are supposed to append. So here you can see, suppose here I'm just giving here float 1.2. So there you can see the red cross mark is coming, saying type mismatch, cannot convert from double to float, cannot convert from double to float. So you have two options. If you move your mouse cursor there, if you move your mouse cursor there under the red mark, there you can see it is giving option add cast to float. Add cast to float. This is one way of doing. Another way is, so you can just append f. You can just append f, small f. So that's what how you can just do it. So either typecast it by writing float within brackets before 1.2, by writing float within brackets before 1.2. That is how you can do typecasting. The second way is writing 1.2 f, writing 1.2 f. Next, boolean b equal to 1. Again this is going to be error. Again this is going to be error. So boolean b equal to 1, again it will raise an error, because as I mentioned, you have to use true false and not one zeros. And next, double d equal to 1.2d. So there's nothing wrong in this. So whether you give it or not, no problem. By default it will be treated as double only, but still if you give d also, no problem. Guys, are you able to see my screen?